What's up everybody? Alex here. Today I want to talk about your phone camera and how to get the most out of it when it comes to film and photography. It's often said that the best camera is the one you have with you. And that statement is especially true today with the cameras everyone carries around with them in their smartphones. But the trick to utilizing that effectively is to start treating your smartphone like a high-end camera and not like a smartphone camera. Here are 3 basics to remember when it comes to using any kind of camera. And if you can get into the habit of remembering these things, you'll start cranking out good content no matter what camera you're using. Basic number 1, orientation. Do I hold my phone like this or like this when I'm taking video and pictures? The answer to that depends on what you want to do with those videos and pictures after you're done taking them. So for instance, if you're just doing a Snapchat story or an Instagram or Facebook story, holding it vertically like this is the correct format for that photo or that video. Now, if you want to do any kind of video that you're putting a little bit more effort into, a higher end production to go on Facebook or YouTube, you definitely want to hold it in landscape mode like this. It just makes your footage way more versatile and way easier to view across a wider variety of devices. And keep in mind, you can always film like this all the time anyway and optimize your content for stories or other vertical or square orientations if you film in a high enough resolution. I did a video on resolution that you can watch that explains how the pixel density varies so that you can film this sideways in 4K and flip it up and zoom in and still not lose any quality and still put a high quality version of your video on a different platform in a different format. And as long as your subject is placed correctly and positioned within your frame like I am now, centered, I can crop in, square, however I want to do it, you'll have no problem optimizing your video for the different platforms. And that leads me to my second basic, composition. Now that you're holding your phone properly, you want to position your subject in the frame that's appealing to the eye. This includes centering your subject, the rule of thirds, leading lines, and even the Fibonacci spiral if you're doing something abstract and creative, also known as the golden ratio. You just want to take an extra second to make sure that your subject is balanced and that the environment around them is not adding to or taking away from their focus. So for instance, if I'm way over here, that's awfully distracting and the entire room behind me is taking up the whole frame. If I'm centered, I'm commanding the frame and it's a much better picture to look at. Alternatively, if I was doing an interview, I could sit this way and look across the frame, and that is okay. That's the rule of thirds. If I'm sitting this way and looking into the frame, I'm still commanding the whole thing and you kind of get a nice ambiance behind me. Versus if I do the opposite rule of thirds, I can sit over here and look this way. See how much different that looks, and it doesn't look super great if I'm way out on this end. There's just all this empty space behind me and my attention isn't even towards it. So rule of thirds that way, centered. Rule of thirds this way works as well depending on the look that you're going for. And for my third and final basic tip, you'll want to create perspective and movement. Now that you've got your subject framed nicely, try to get a different perspective on it if you can. Try moving closer or further away to create an interesting look. This took me a long time to get the hang of and really balance in my photos and my videos, but once I did, it really upped my game. This same rule goes for videos as well. Just remember that a video is only a moving picture. So if you have a well-composed picture and you add movement, you now have a video. Take a look at my keyboard here, for instance, and to keep myself honest, I'm filming this on my phone. From this perspective, it doesn't look particularly interesting. The composition is accurate as it's in the middle of the frame, so it's a clean, minimal image. But if I get down lower to it, then I can really make this look cool. Now my photos have a unique perspective that will catch your eye. And if I hit record, I can move along the edge of the keyboard and rotate a bit to create this awesome looking effect. I can even slow that down or speed it up a bit in my editing software to make it look interesting since I filmed it in 60 frames per second. So you can see that just by getting a new perspective and adding some movement in, you can drastically increase your image quality. The goal here is to take something ordinary and make it look interesting. And make sure you're looking at your object if you're filming along it and follow its natural lines and curves so that you're correctly expressing the object within your video. Remember that all of this applies to any camera you're using. So don't fall into the trap of thinking that a better camera will make your images look better. You're only as good as your knowledge and experience, so that's why it's best to practice these things. Hopefully this gives you enough to play around and experiment with to get you well on your way to creating some awesome content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.